The Properties palette appears by default to the left of the drawing area above the project browser. This panel shows you the instance properties of the currently selected element, or, if no element is currently selected, the properties of the current view. With an element selected, the element and view appear in the Properties filter at the top of the Properties palette, and you can toggle between them. To display or hide the Properties palette, select any element in the project. Then, in the Contextual ribbon, pay attention to the Properties button in the Properties panel. When you click this button, you toggle the display of the Properties palette. The Properties palette can be undocked and floated anywhere in the drawing area or on the desktop. When it is floating, you can click and drag an edge or corner to resize the Properties palette. Also, once it is floating, the panel remains open, even if you deselect the element that is shown. For example, when you have an element selected and then press Escape to deselect it, the panel remains open, but now it shows the instance properties of the current view. You can also move the Properties palette and dock it to any edge of the drawing window. When docked, the panel expands to fill the space along the edge. This causes the Properties palette to take up space that could otherwise be used by the drawing window, so most users prefer to float the panel, leaving it on the desktop, or even dragging it onto a different screen if your computer has multiple monitors. You can also combine the Properties palette with the project browser in order to save space. When combined with the project browser, you can switch between the two by using the tabs at the bottom of the panel. In order to restore the Properties palette to a single panel, drag the tab into the drawing area. The Properties palette is used to modify the instance properties of the current element or view. Once you change a parameter, you can click Apply, or simply move the cursor back into the drawing area. To reach type properties for the element that displays in the type selector at the top of the Properties palette, click Edit Type in the Properties palette, or Edit Type in the Properties panel of the Contextual ribbon. To close the Properties palette, click Close in the upper right corner.